Everyone, and welcome back to another day of some great BTS Americas action. I'm coL Guy for Beyond the Summit. I am going to be joined by Blaze remotely here. Blaze just getting off of our first series today, which was Cloud9 going against, why is it still in my mind, Root Gaming. And they did best them, and they're going to be the first team to make it into the round of 4. And now we'll get to find out which team is going to be also going into the round of 4 on the lower half as we witness Void Boys going against Complexity here. Blaze, what are your early impressions on this? The first thing that stands out to me, though, is this is a Snake King versus Swindle grudge match.
Yeah, grudge match indeed. Should be a lot of fun to see what the two teams bring to bear against one another. Obviously, Snake King is not captaining where Swindle is, but I mean, still, this is kind of like Snake King's comeback. Like it's been him kind of out of the competitive scene for quite some time, and seeing him back in action is going to be pretty fun. And of course, a little more malice towards one of his opponents. That should be really fun. But yeah, just early impressions here. Void Boys, they look pretty strong. Obviously, they look strongest when they have their full roster. Patsol unable to be here for this week's games. It does take down their, I guess, core potential a little bit, but nevertheless, they have a strong composition of players. They have a really direct style, very directed in terms of what they want to accomplish in the game. And I'm not really sure where Complexity settles. I mean, they have some really good minds on their team. I mean, obviously, we've seen Z-Freak and Swindle captaining and leading the team very effectively over the past several months. Way2 is considered one of the better minds in the North American Dota scene, but without some of the heavy hitters, like for example Simba aka Fly, I'm not sure if they have the full mechanical potential. So it really comes down to really how they adjust through this new roster.
Yeah, that's pretty much the question a lot of people were asking since Fly did depart from their team. Now he's a part of the new Monkey Business Squad, where he's, you know, back in arms with his old teammate Mr. No Tail from Fnatic. But now you're left with a Complexity squad consisting of their traditional, foundation of your Swindles and his good brother, Mr. Z-Freak. Ziz has shown a bit of hot and cold streaky as far as how reliable he could be as a core player. Sometimes he has flashes of genius on his PL. I remember he used to pull out the Lone Druid at a cheeky time and do very, very well on that. And then during the heyday of the Troll and the Jug, he was very, very good and a standout player then. But feels like he's kind of not really found his home with this new era. It's not like we see a lot of Ziz AM and stuff like that. It just doesn't seem really to suit with him quite yet. We'll see if it's going to be the case or not. You already talked a bit about Way2 and how he's a crafty veteran, so I don't need to go any further about that. For Void Boys, there's still yet to be the true Void Boys. Like, I always wait to get the actual Void Boys together. I feel like we did miss a point when we could have seen Void Boys in their absolute prime when they had 747 on the squad. Omega Poner now is finally back. He had not been a part of Void Boys since they started with their Nanyang run all the way up to BTS Americas at this point. From what I know, this is the first time he'll be playing with them, and he is traditionally their offlaner, but they are still missing the legendary Patsol himself. It has been said from Omega Poner he should be coming within a week's time, hopefully later this week. I don't know if Void Boys will still be in a tournament to play in. I hope so we could just see them actually play. But I'm very curious. I would almost put this match potentially as a 50-50 wash, to be honest with you, just with how the rosters have shuffled up a bit and based on recent performance history. But let's actually go into the draft itself here, Blaze. Void Boys open up, they get the Gyrocopter Earthshaker, and Complexity get their Lina, Shadow Fiend, and they pull out the Io, something that they still love to hold to here and now, but this time it won't be with their casual pairing of the Gyrocopter.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to see what they can accomplish with it. Obviously, Relocate is a powerful tool no matter how you use it. They're not going to be going up against... some might be up against the Disruptor, but I don't know. It just seems like a pretty aggressive pick to put into here. If they can double up on the healing or something along those lines, they can find some real potential with it. But as it stands right now, you're up against Call Down, Fisher, Echo, and Aftershock. Like, all that really is strong AoE. You have Storm Spirit, who's mobile enough that he can't be picked off by a Relocate gank. In general, like, Io is a hero that if you're gonna run it, you have to run it really well, and maybe Complexity have been practicing this quite a bit. They're looking to really show what they can do with it, but at the same time, the heroes that they're up against, they will face some adversity.
Yeah, it is interesting. Storm Spirit, who we all know is typically a top priority grab for the mid lane and can just do so much work in the late game. He can run into a bit of problem if he is put in that dual lane matchup with the Wisp +1, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case here now that Sven comes out. A little bit of a throwback, but you get that sweet, delicious cleave. It is a Sven going into the Storm, though, and Sven does not tend to do well if he's kited very easily, and Storm is probably one of the slipperiest heroes out there, so I do find that a bit skeptic. Also, Earthshaker, you have to work around the fissure if he does land a good one, and Sven's trying to just kind of get in the heat in the battle. But I guess that's all where Wisp comes into play, and it's him being able to add the extra bit of move speed, or perhaps just even do an airdrop, relocate right into the heat of the battle. But I don't know. What are your thoughts about the Sven coming in?
I think it's pretty strong. I've seen a lot of Southeastern Asian teams run the Sven-Wisp combo, even in the more recent metagames where it's been less popularized. But I think that Sven definitely helps IO in a lot of ways that he's lacking. The Warcry really enables him to survive rather than just get picked off at the beginning of the fight. Obviously, you need a reliable stun against some of these heroes here. So I think it has a lot of strength, and obviously IO in turn makes up for the weaknesses of Sven, which is low attack speed and low mobility, as you mentioned. But yeah, it really comes down to execution in my mind. Like, I feel like this hero pair can absolutely work, but what they're looking for in their last pick for their offlane controller, it has to be really on point. If you're not a marksman with whatever hero you're running, a Magnus or something crazy in the offlane,
Clockwork or
you're
something.
gonna be struggling.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like this nice little pick here from Void Boys, a direct counter to the Wisp. They get the Ancient Apparition. As we all know, a successful Ice Blast will render his sustained capability pretty much useless at that point, almost just intentionally hurting himself if he even tries to do the overcharge. So that could be a bit of a sticky spot there. Has to make sure that they either work around the Ice Blast or don't look to just be too clustered up and only take fights when they feel they're ready to go. If they allow Void Boys to open up with a big Ice Blast or pull off a big counter Ice Blast in a turnaround fight, it could turn to I mean, imagine if they commit on a go-in, trying to get a Storm Spirit who jumps out of their way, is kiting him easily, the Ice Blast comes in, and suddenly a wild Earthshaker blinks in and a Gyrocopter with
exactly.
down. I mean,
Absolutely.
That is just disaster. So this is a lot on complexity to know when they're going to take the right fight and just not get destroyed if Void Boys are there and they're ready to spring the trap or something.
Looks like it actually could be a Magnus here. We're seeing right now the Clockwork being banned out by the side of Void Boys. We're seeing Rubik banned out by complexity. So either they're really afraid of a spell getting stolen, like RP, or they actually think this Earthshaker is going to go offlane more than anything else. And that was a possibility, but Void Boys would have loved to pick the Clockwork for themselves instead, if possible. Run that 5-position Earthshaker and then give the Storm Spirit something to jump with. But in this case, they know they're not first pick in the final phase, so they have to ban it out. And this leaves complexity to think about it for a minute, but I actually think Magnus is probably one of the better offlaners in this situation, just because you can still get yourself over the fissure with the skewer, and you have so much synergy with the rest of the lineup when it comes to the mid game.
Outside of that, it's like maybe they just pull out the Bristleback. You still get a decent tether partner with the Wisp, aside from the Sven, but you're putting even more into that melee category of I'm a big bruiser, and if you kite me, I might have some trouble. Beastmaster, though, is going to be the grab, and it adds more utility, more mobility. Now you got the scoutage with the birds to set up those relocates. You got fun little zoo critters that you can even boot to travel on if it gets to that point in the game. And overall, you got someone who could catch a Gyrocopter, BKB or not, which we all know Gyrocopter is typically a BKB candidate hero, with that Primal Roar. And it does force Void Boys to kind of change the way they itemize. We could see like the Storm Spirit Lincolns come out in this particular game.
Yeah, I think it comes out of the Roar more than anything else. Not only really good against both Gyro and Storm, but it really vital to the relocate setup. Every single time Roar is off cooldown, relocate will be as well. Those ulti synchronize really nicely. So you could legitimately see some real value in just comboing those ultis, finding a kill for the Sven every single time. But kind of similar to the other fly we know, we're actually going to be seeing Void Boys pick up the Tide Hunter off lane and see what he can accomplish with that. So it was definitely going to be a 5-position Earthshaker supporting, and then here we have an old school pickup, but one that's very effective, in particular with the Anchor Smash here.
Yeah, wow, this is definitely a bit of a throwback. Seeing the Tide Hunter again, you know, he's going to be on side, so the ancient camp is there. It's not as easy to access as it used to be before, where just be Tidehunter could always just make the self stacks, anchor smash them down, get a quick blink dagger, and be Gucci. But here, it's a bit trickier. You're more built around your ultimate. If you tend to, blow your load, and then you don't have the ultimate thereafter, Tidehunter could typically be, a bit of a burden where he can't really do much else. So Void Boys are going to be pretty in with the flashy ults here. We could have a highlight reel fight on our hands here with the way Void Boys have kind of drafted together. But without further ado, folks, we're going to be hopping in. This is going to be game number 1 of a best of 3. It's Complexity going against the Void Boys here. We'll lead off Complexity. It's going to be Ziz on Sven with Z-Freak. Once again on his Wisp, but the whole team's coming in behind. They have smoked up for this one, Blaze. Way2's Lena and Swindle's Shadow Fiend also on the chase. The long caboose way in behind. Little Mikey JY, MJW Beastmaster going to be repping there. But as they head up here to the top, Blaze, I'll let you introduce the bottom half of the map where it's all the Void Boys together now.
Exactly. We've got Snake King on the Gyrocopter playing the carry position. We're going to be having Sakura on the support Earthshaker, Megaponer on that mid-storm Null Tele first. I think that's Jatova, Sakura's friend. That's going to be the Ancient Apparition supporting alongside him. And then Void Boys Fly will be picking up the offlane Tidehunter with a Mango to start. And talking about this early movement, I actually think there's an interesting metagame aspect behind it. A lot of times these NA teams, for an opportunity, but Snaking, not the easiest pick. But a lot of times you'll see a TP from one team and another, just TPing like a support and an offlaner to the towers, trying to either scout the ward or place the ward early. And the way that you saw the draw on the map from Swindlemelons implied to me that they were desperately looking for a first blood on a support. If you catch with a Sven stun into a Lena stun, you can almost guarantee that Shadow Fiend can last hit that first blood, and if he skills Necromastery to do that, he instantly gets that 12 soul stack. Like, that's insane. You can get that opener. So I really think they were hoping Void Boys would try to scout that early observer ward placement with a single support, and that smoke could have given Swindlemelons a gigantic advantage in the mid.
Yeah, you could definitely understand what they were hoping to get out from that and how much it would have propelled them forward at just the start of the laning phase here, but they do not get that big opportunity. So how do they suffer for it instead? Without any pressure on the bottom, we see there's the magic bush ward that is going to be down. It will block out a couple of cants. No one's around to remove it. No sentry on hand for MJW, but the way they did situate these lanes, it's a nice one. But yeah, top, they're making a move though on the Snaking. They set up with the LSA, and that's as simple as it is. They rush on forward, and Ziz is able to help chop them down. Z-Freak will get the last hit, and it will be Complexity who do strike first.
Yep, and they got plenty of mana to spare. As long as Wisp is away from anything that can break his clarity, he can just keep the tether going on. So it's easy. Why? And look at Sven's mana issues just dissolved. He has terrible starting mana, but you have a Wisp behind you, so you can keep spamming the stuns, and we'll see it once again.
They move right in. The Fissure will block the support party, but look at the long range, and Dragon Slave going to be coming up just a bit short on that one. Good Fissure to slow them down, and yeah, he did tether to that little creep. Couldn't make it over the hump, but
and that means that you don't get the tether slow. Nope. I think that's what they did perfectly in the first round, is they got both stuns and the slow effective in that exchange. In this case, they missed that slow, and that might have been the difference. Death for Snake very well could have been. So yeah, this aggro tri-lane, it doesn't always work with a Wisp, especially against defensive supports. But right now, they know that the Ancient Apparition wants to pull. They know that he wants to get to level 6 as fast as possible. And by taking this aggressive stance, they not only get a pretty awesome 1v1 between the Beastmaster and the Tide, but they're also suppressing the Gyrocopter's farm.
Tide's got to be happy with this one-on-one. Tide, this is a guy who used to get beaten down by those old 3-on-1s, maybe even 2-on-1s, getting zoned back, could soak up a bit of the damage, but being in a 1-on-1, it's free roam with this anchor smash. He doesn't have to worry about trading blows with MJW, and he's able to just kind of push on forward. He stepped off for that 2-minute rune. He's going to be back now. This was a moment for MJW to finally catch up. Now, he gets his 8 CS, but that was with a whole free wave for him to catch up with. Fly had been kind of taking control here and will continue to do so, pushing to that level 6. I'm sure both of them kind of have the same thing on their minds, and both teams are expecting the same thing from them. Get as much as you can done on that bottom lane, get to your level 6, and just be ready with possibly a TP that a fight could break out.
But I feel like if one more exchange goes against Void Boys, that we're going to have to rotate Snake King down bottom, and that's going to kind of mess up what the Tide does have going for him when he's kind of suddenly loses a lane to farm from. I actually liked the play that Jatova brought with reacting to the Sven getting full mana. The bottle tether brought Sven back to full mana, and immediately the Ancient Apparition just puts out Chilling Touch just to kind of ward them off. Say, don't mess with us, we'll strike back. And they'll wait out that duration. So that pulls the creep wave back, but big stun if they can follow it. Nice Fisher. Blocks out the Lina.
Yeah, she wanted to get in there, get that sweet LSA off. Things could have gone very different, but it just kind of shows that Void Boys need to be put in a very passive, defensive position. And even then, they're not able to get Snake King into a comfortable spot where he could just freely farm. He's at 12-1 CS right now. You compare it to this Ven, who's just an inch ahead. But for the supports, they don't really get to do a whole lot. They have to constantly be on hand here and kind of remain in the dark as far as what Complexity are doing, which they have already been roaming away now. It looks like Way2's going to be heading all the way back to base. But look at this trade happening now in mid lane. Swindles gets the assistance from his brother, but they're not going to follow up on making a go for Omega Poner here, which I didn't get a chance to mention. Yeah, he's going to be playing the mid lane. I'm one to know he's been playing a lot of off lane. His Clockwork is always just his name always attaches to a Clockwork to me. But now here he is playing a Storm in the mid. I do wonder if it's a position he's comfortable with.
Yeah, I think it's all comes down to comfort picks with the current roster. I've played against Void Boys, I've watched Void Boys. They always switch it up based on who they have available and whoever feels they can play the role best. So I've in the same series seen, for example, Fly play both mid and support, and here you see them on the offlane. They really don't seem slated to play one thing or another. They're really flexible and really looking to just do what's best for the team.
Bottom lane now. We look back, and Fly's back in control here at 24-4 CS. The Beastmaster now down to 15. He'll muscle into his level 6 position here, Blaze. And they haven't resorted to rotating Snake King away yet. He has a TP on hand now and an Arcane Boots here. Seems a bit low on mana, but he has that Mango. It seems like now he's kind of keeping an eye on the whole map as far as maybe there could be a counterplay here. Is it worth it to him to make that kind of adventure and try to get something set up for Void Boys, specifically maybe in this top lane to ease up the stress, or should he just kind of stick with this free lane while he's got it?
I feel it's worth it if he can get away from the lane without Complexity noticing, but it's really hard to do when you've been kind of slugging it out in this 1v1 constantly. So we're going to see it go the other way around. Aurora rotates in, and they work right forward with that triple stun.
Beautifully done right there, and just when maybe I was going to say that Tide was thinking about making it go elsewhere, Complexity get their own level 6, and they're first to strike, and they'll be first rewarded with that, and now Complexity will pull ahead 2-0 here. After Swindle pushes out this mid lane a bit, he'll step back to jungle up. They do still even manage to throw together at least one stack for him, or he must have put at least one stack for himself together. So he continues to kind of be a bit of a problem here. Only holding a bottle and a Wraithband for now, and could end up crossing paths here with a certain Omega Poner as the level 6 strikes. He sees the DD, and Poner moves in, gets the quick kill of the bird, 3 extra gold, and at least there'll be enough to muscle back Swindle and get rewarded with just a simple bounty rune.
Up top, Z-Freak is dropping around a little bit here, but they're not going to be able to finish it off, and in fact, Z-Freak is just getting full solo experience. He's going to get relocated online really quickly for what otherwise was a tri-lane Wisp, one who was spreading the experience on 3. They'll go for a little bit of bottle manipulation play, rotate the Beastmaster up, and bring some hurt to more. He was even able to last hit a little bit with his spirits, prevent the neutral from really hurting his experience progression. He's really do a lot, even in this early laning phase, other than that one misclick, and I expect to see a lot from him with the relocate as well.
Get that freaking bird out of here. Another one going to be taken down as Void Boys rotated through. Earthshaker thinking about a move from the river, but again, they just kind of have the know-how here. Complexity really utilizing that extra bit of scout vision. Now they're going to allow Z-Freak to get a little bit of that solo time in this mid lane. Looks like getting that level 6, getting relocate online is pretty damn important. They want to look for potential setup. You already mentioned how they could easily synergize the Beastmaster War, which is up at it right now, along with that relocate and just continue to make fights happen here. But just for now, a simple lane swap from the Complexity side. After that rotation to the bottom, they just leave Ziz here with Way2, shove MJW to the top lane, and we'll make do with this for now. Void Boys, could they take advantage of this kind of lane switch? It feels like it could put them in a bit more of a comfortable lane setup. But I guess MJW with just this extra vision just always has that safety net for himself.
It really just allows them to pull a little bit more actively. That's pretty much all they can accomplish with it. They'll just try to go, and even that's going to be a little bit denied by MJW, but they really just want to get some good farm on the Ancient Apparition, and, I mean, they're getting it gradually, but, you see the Storm Spirit trying to go for a jump here. Might be able to get it with the fish.
There it is, long one in, but he has no more mana. He's going to eat the roar to the face. There comes the cold feet. Can they lock him in place long enough for the solidify, though? No, they can't, and Z-Freak shows up. He's going to be your little paramedic. He says, everything's going to be okay, little buddy. Does cost them the Primal Roar, but it costs Void Boys so much more. A 4-man rotation for this gank, and they're not going to get it.
Yeah, I mean, Beastmaster is such a naturally tanky hero, but that roar was absolutely on point. He would not have had the time to get back to the tower otherwise. And also, it seemed like the Storm Spirit, just under a couple of creeps, was not able to use his bottle efficiently enough and effectively enough to really follow through with any more spells. He got a couple good hits in, but was insufficient, and now I feel Complexity are leaving the lightning phase looking fondly behind. They say, okay, well, we've gotten exactly what we need. We've got Bottle, Stick, Urn of Shadows on the Wisp. We're about to hit level 6 on him, and we're just going to be looking for kills after that.
I'm curious how Ziz is going to be looking to itemize here for his Sven. I mean, do you feel comfortable enough with the help he's going to be getting from this Wisp that he can pass over something like a BKB and just go more into the raw damage early, or is it safe to kind of build up more heavy defenses before you consider going in crazy mode, Mask of Madness, or anything like that?
BKB is still a necessary second item, but I assume he's going to go for something else first. Mask of Madness seems to be the choice since he does have more mass. This is going to be really exemplifying attack speed over anything else. This is going to be hitting so fast, uncharacteristically for a Sven. He's got plus 30 attack speed from the power treads. He's going to have the overcharge, which will give him up to 70 attack speed, and then of course the Beastmaster's Aura will come into play another 45. So if you add in Mask of Madness, 100 attack speed on top of that, this guy is attacking as fast as an agility core, or even faster.
You know, that's if you're able to kind of lock your target down and unleash that fury onto him here, which opportunities like that could pop up. But with the Ravage out there on the field, with a very heavy mobile Storm Spirit, it might not be very easy. But look at this. Void Boys are going to be pulling off a smoke here. The first one, they're going to cross paths with Mikey. They see him. There's Gush. There's a jump in. No Ravage will be necessary for this. They're not going to try to spend too much. They're going to get what they can for as cheap as possible and quickly hightail it out of there. A successful gank for Void Boys onto the offlaner. And with that, they get their first kill on the board.
Yep, and they're going to make sure that Snaking feels very safe farming on the top lane. So they're going to have the threat of Ravage if they want to kind of go for a Death Ball play all as one. And yeah, I mean, sure, they know that the relocate in is possible, and so they can't go like fully on the tower, but they know that Complexity aren't fully in the zone anymore either. They lost the top lane, and they're mostly focused on jungle play right now, just trying to get to that BKB stage you were talking about. I mean, they are up against a lot of big spells, and that's going to be the huge power spike for Complexity is when the Sven and Shadow Fiend both have a BKB, which looks probably not to be for another 10 minutes or so.
It looked like Void Boys were very itchy on the trigger to try to get something set up with that Ravage right after the MJW takedown, but there was going to be no setup on the Swindle. And Complexity feel that Void Boys might try to build the pressure here, so they step back a bit, reevaluate, but look at this. Now a smoke to this top lane. Way 2 is not level 6 yet on the Lina. There's no Laguna, but with maybe Primal Roar and the burst damage between the two of them, it'd be enough to catch something here. They're gonna
relocate on top of it, guaranteed. So the damage comes from God's Strength. Should be able to get a lot of hits in under the like triple stun combo they're looking at.
Yep, Ziz is close, but not super close. They're waiting to maybe see if there's an opportunity. Snaking is their closest neighbor right now.
Oh, that's such a huge pick.
They can catch it, lead it in. There it is. Relocate Primal More to set up a fly. He's going to be there with a big Ravage on top. Snake King's already down. He's able to get the call down drop before he does go down. Now, Void Boys, can they clean it up over Complexity, be able to wipe the floor with the rest? They quickly get MJW down. They turn back for Ziz, and that is Z-Freak out of there, and he doesn't take Ziz with them. Ziz is alone now and could be in a bit of trouble, but here comes Swindle marching on in. We'll be able to right-click down to Omega Poner. He's going to get dropped. Now Ziz is the attention point here for Void Boys, but can they get him? No. They can't finish him off. That means that they're going to move forward. LSA, a Dragon Slave follow-up, and it means a double kill for Swindle Melons. Complexity, annihilate Void Boys there. A 4-for-1 trade. This puts them ahead 6-2. It looked like it would have been good there, Blaze, for Void Boys. They had a good Ravage setup, but they didn't have all hands on deck in the appropriate position quick enough, and Complexity were there to respond.
Yeah, and that's the difference of having an Ancient Apparition with an Ice Blast or not. I mean, Jatovas could have turned that fight hardcore. Probably wouldn't have even been a fight with an Ice Blast on top. But things got a little hot and heavy once the cooldown went down. I was afraid that...
hold on.
Cooldown.
He's going for Z-Freak here. It might pass right through him. It got him. He's dead. Beautiful catch right there. You call out for the Ice Blast, and you're right. It's not there in time for the fight, but hey... he eventually does get it there at the end and just blows up the ball with one of his own. I like it.
Yeah. And he suddenly jumps up to nearly level 7. He'll work his way towards maybe a Hand of Midas here. As long as the Earthshaker is willing to keep buying wards, they can really benefit a ton from the longevity of the Ancient Apparition Aghanim Scepter, because that'll actually take them into the late game in its own special way. The Mask of Mana Sven can't go for armlet, and just in general isn't as strong of a pickup with the Ice Blast afflicting him. He's going to go ahead and clear out some nice Ancients far faster than a Tidehunter could, and that's going to catapult him forward, but I still think that Complex is kind of in momentum mode right now. Every time they have their ultis, they're looking for kill opportunities, and once this Sven has Blink and BKB, he's pretty much just ready to kill until they hit the racks.
We'll see if they'll get those kind of opportunities and what the game plan could be for Void Boys to avoid those big, heated, peaking moments when Complexity know they're ready to fight with ultimates at the ready here. And how much more emphasis they're going to need for sure on Snake King to farm up. It does feel like still his Gyrocopter is a little puny compared to this manly Sven. Though it is a Mask of Madness Sven, and he can always reflect so much extra damage upon himself. Gyrocopter is going to be going first, more of that defensive buildup. Unless it's a Sange into a SMY kind of a grab. I'm imagining the BKB here with a Bracer already on hand. But here we go, jump in mid lane. Ice Blast is going to be there. Ziz is in trouble. They'll try to relocate in, but it's not going to be happening. So Z-Freak's going to go down as a 2-for-none special for Void Boys. Now we'll allow them to get some pressure, if not take down this tier 1.
Yeah, we're going to see some side lane pressure here. The Shadow Fiend on bottom and the Lina up top, but it's still not going to make up for the fact that they lost the Sven so hardcore there. It's a really good jump to synchronize that all at once and pretty much give no opportunity for the Wisp to bail him out.
Now Fly is first to retreat from the mid lane push and goes top with Ravage ready to go. Complexity do decide to step back here and at least farm the side camp for now, but they could consider maybe engaging. They have Primal Roar ready to go. They know of the big commitments that are already used in the mid lane. There'll be no Ice Blast, but Ice Blast is already en route. We'll catch on way too. But it's a bit too far out of position here. It's not like Fly's going to go too crazy diving in. Waiting to maybe rendezvous with the rest of his team. The pressure continues to come at the top, and there you go. Ziz is going to just sound off the battle cry, and he's going to quickly take down this tier 1. No contention. And Complexity will grab an extra tower here. We look at the net worth, and it's Complexity up about 2k. Same goes for the XP.
So, we are seeing mechs equaled out. The Shadow Fiend and the Tide both have one, but there are many situations where the Complexity mech is just strictly weaker, and sometimes where it's better. Most of the time, you're going to be having a few heroes hit by the Ice Blast. Heal is gone unless you pop it right beforehand. But there are some situations where the Tether heal could actually make that even stronger. You can get a huge burst of like 625 HP healing on a tethered target when the stars align and you're not under that Ice Blast. So it's really on the AA, Jatovas, to prevent that heal from happening, because that's pretty much what's going to determine the next couple engagements.
That's so funny. I actually didn't really put the two and two together till now. Jatovas, who is typically the mid laner, docked all the way down. I guess he's the AA specialist, or maybe just not too comfortable on the Storm. I didn't really realize it till now that he's been kind of in the support position, but he's one very familiar with the Shadow Fiend. Let's see if he kind of used that bit of intel to advance his AA play in some sort of way. I don't know how, but in some sort of way, I imagine. Way 2, though, level 8. Don't know if we've really seen the Laguna be able to shine its stuff yet, so it might be something Complexity want to put to strong use here. Everything is up now, and they look to potentially this top lane. Ooh, look like a quick escape there from MJW. Complexity thought about for a moment maybe they could engage, but I guess with Ravage being up and everything, plus an Echo, could have been a bit scary.
We're just going to see them go right onto the tower here, war crying it up. Call down will do some magical damage, but one of the tier 1 pretty hardcore. They're actually going to commit for it now with the God's Strength, and that is something that's hard to deal with. Ziz is not going to get caught by the Ice Blast, but Z-Freak will, and wow, they just burst down Snake King in the process.
There it is. They are going to finish him off with the Laguna help. They step in, though, with an Echo. They finish way 2. Ravage is there to set up, but no ideal target, and now Complexity re-engaged. Looking to go for Fly here. There's going to be the hammer, but a quick fissure does come out from your Earthshaker and forces them back, a good one, and will assist. Ends up being, though, a Lina for the Gyro. A big trade that works out for Complexity, plus comes at a tier 1.
Yeah, exactly. Getting the tier 1 tower is awesome because you're able to open up the map for Roshan and other things of that nature really nicely. And they're even doing some good damage to this tier 2. I mean, this Wisp provides so much sustain early on. We're just going to see a big TP, though, as well as a jump onto Swindle, and I don't think there's much to bail him out.
He's out. Primal Roar does come in on the fly before he can get anything done. And quickly, Complexity just retreat with the rest that are alive. A good quick pick from Void Boys there. Gets them Swindle. And evens this game's up back to 7-7. Oh, you're right. The Wisp comes back. He's dead. Another two-man grab here. Puts Void Boys back in a comfortable position. Complexity gets something going for themselves, but then unfortunately something goes a bit awry. And Void Boys are always able to kind of gather a couple extra pieces and put them back on their side.
And you see just how much Snaking just wants to survive the next few minutes. He's actually rushing a BKB here. Nothing but Bassi, Power Treads, and a casual Bracer before he goes right for the BKB. This is not a farming build. This is a I want to stop dying build. And yeah, it'll allow him to do that once he completes it. But it also sets him back in terms of his late game potential. Every time you use a BKB, you're getting into that late game magic. And I really feel like the late game potential of Void Boys has shifted onto the support shoulders. Ancient Apparition can do a lot at level 16. Snaking right now, he's not looking to outfarm his opponents. He's just looking to hold the next few minutes.
Swindle first to respond, TP's into this bottom lane, and Void Boys are... we're fine with that. We're going to leave. They all just head right out. And they'll just leave Omega opponent to continue farming this top lane. 8 charges, Bloodstone in hand. Looks like a robe towards future Orchid, but he gets a free lane to work with while Complexity put all attention on bottom. They'll work with their own jungle on the way out. Both teams just looking to itemize a bit further here, it looks like Blaze. Don't know if it's been mentioned yet, but yeah, the AA did finish out that Midas. Good early grab, certainly getting that kill. Boosted him up, he went right for the Midas recipe. He gets it done now. He has to use it though. Come on, buddy, get to use. And then he can put together the Agnum Scepter, a big one in this particular game.
Absolutely, that will be game-changing. Right now, like you said, both sides are kind of building up their item pools, but while Void Boys is trying to itemize to survive the fights, Complexity is looking to initiate them. They got a Blink Dagger on the Beastmaster. Could compare that to the BOTs you were talking about earlier. Like BOT to Hawk is really strong, but we're just going to see them look to jump and onto the call down at that.
There it is. They're going for Snaking here, and then they turn their attention on the Z-Freak though. A good quick jump in from Mega Opponent's going to get that. Now a Ravage on the backhand side is going to lock down Swindle. It's going to be forced to pop out the mech, looking to retreat, but he goes right into an Echo. Okay, Void Boys quickly take 3 down. What even happened to Ziz in that fight, Blaze? He just got dropped. I didn't even notice how quick he got taken apart.
It was insane. He had Mask of Madness active, the Overcharge didn't do much for him, and he got hit by the Ice Blast. When he just got popped by that, he couldn't get healed in any capacity, and they just nuked him down hard. 2 hits of the call down, good Fisher, Ice Blast, and the Storm Jump, and it's just evaporate. You really have to be cautious about your approach like that. Going blind, no vision at all. That was a very risky maneuver, and it got punished heavily.
Void Boys grab even more momentum their way, and Complexity need to start respecting the Ice Blast and respecting Void Boys' counterfight. I mean, it almost feels identical to the situation I was plotting out in the draft. Just imagine him trying to make a jump onto a big target who could be elusive, and then just the wonderful counterfight that could come from the 5-man draft that Void Boys have put together, and they're already showing it here. So do Complexity need to kind of step back and just have a bit more patience and trust in maybe their late game potential, which I do see maybe could etch out something Void Boys have. Don't get me wrong, we all know Storm can be a real pain in the ass in the late game, and Gyro has certainly a high ceiling of damage he can bring out in the late game. But do you think Complexity stand a better chance if the game does go longer and longer?
I think they have a really good shot at it. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed. With the threat of like a Refresher Orb on the Tidehunter, with guaranteed Ice Blasts that are going to be coming out at long range, you know that there's some fights that are going to be difficult even in the latest stage, despite having, I guess, more scalable heroes and like the SF Sven. But I wouldn't say that like delaying the game is the better play. I think just patience in the sense of making sure that you set up your kills effectively. Like, for example, if Ziz had just waited for Hawk Vision before trying to go on a hunt for a gyrocopter up into the enemy jungle, then that would have been a completely different situation. But because he thought he saw an opportunity he could punish, he got very reckless, and he didn't really build the fight the way that Complexity needed to.
And now Complexity kind of need to step back a moment here and reevaluate. what they would love to get out of this game moving on forward, whether they should continue these kind of very brashy pushes or put more calculation into it here. Way2 will head himself all the way up to the top lane to join Mikey J. White as they, further don't look to proceed past that river zone. But they might be forced into trouble on their own territory here. Blaze of smoke comes out. Omega Poner, they walk right past. Now they make the jump, and he goes to the high ground here. Ravage right through the BKB. However, they do turn it on to Z-Freak. There's the pitcher catch, and there's the kill. Wisp is going to be taken out. Now they look to Ziz next. The back of his BKB should be coming to a close, but a roar jumping from MJW is going to get the catch on the Poner. It doesn't matter, however. Sven's going to go down, and there is a secondary fight here. Swindle, though, looks to breach right in. Him and Snake King, look at them. They're bitter rivals going toe-to-toe here, but they can't get him. Here comes help from Void Boys. They turn it right back onto Swindle. He's going to be going down, and that will leave just one remaining survivor, Way2, who did get caught up in that side fight. It looked like Gatova's got his own pick off there at the end. It was all Void Boys all day with that wonderful smoke setup.
Yeah, really well set up, and just whoever's calling the shots for Complexity right now needs to tone it down a little bit. They had one really good fight where they made an aggressive call that Mini wouldn't have, where they broke the tether and left the Sven in the fight while the Wisp went back home. That over-aggressive play actually paid off in spades, but ever since then they've been playing so confidently as if they take these fights. When you're under Ice Blast and Anchor Smash, there's really not much you can do as a Sven. You just have to kind of pick your battles a little bit more carefully. So I feel if Ziz had just gone in full retreat, there's a chance he gets out, and they obviously wouldn't have fed the other kills. But instead, somebody's shot calling for Complexity to just go, 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 and while that sometimes is the right call, these past few times have ended in failure.
Well, to at least re-establish a bit of control on their side, Complexity do pick up the gem. At least MJW does invest in one for now. Will certainly help them out. We look at the vision of Void Boys, though, and it's nothing even too crazy. There's not going to be much for them to take care of, at least on their side. Doesn't look like Complexity, or Void Boys, rather, had an opportunity to follow up with some aggressive ward placement after these picks. But they are still on the prowl. Snake King even happy to consider jumping up into Complexity territory. But there is a bird up there. It will spot them. Complexity won't do anything with it, and Void Boys kind of step back. Maybe they're just kind of etching out this area in hopes of maybe a future Roche go. But to be honest with you, Blaze, they don't have a very good Roche team, does Void Boys. Complexity seem to have the better Roche team here. So if they wanted to consider something like that, they might have to still wait a bit.
Yeah, they don't have a great team for entering the pit, but they have a hell of a good team for contesting the pit. I mean, Ice Blast, Storm, Aegis Snatches, Blink Echo, Blink Ravage. It seems like both sides are incapable of actually going for Roshan directly, unless you have like half the other team down, just because of how effective it is for Void Boys to jump into it, whereas, like you mentioned, they're not really great at doing it themselves. We're going to see some decent Hawk Vision scouting things out in the southern front. They're going to make sure that, and their opponents can't make the jump, but it seems like Omega Poner is too quick on the trigger that MJW can't pin him down in particular. So we're going to instead look at the rotation top. They want to go for the Blink Gush. Yeah, they'll be able to bring down Swindle. He does not have a BKB, but the relocate will make it so that only the Wisp goes down instead. Very
nice catch right there. Last second on that tether to pull him right on out. Now Z-Freak will head back to what looks like his demise. Yep, see you later. But hey, it's a Wisp instead of a Swindle Shadow Fiend. Complexity are happy to take that. If it's anything like that, okay, well, they thought about going on mid lane there, but it's just going to be for the tier 2 tower, it looks like. Ooh, Ziz sees the Ice Blast. We'll sidestep it. Very nice, but that could have gone a lot worse if they left Swindle out, but it's a good exchange for them, and maybe eventually Z-Freak will get what he got the previous time in a Glimmer Cape, and we'll be able to just get away in a case like that.
Yeah. The only way a player like Swindle is going to be in that kind of farming position is either one of three things. Either he knows the enemy is on the opposite side of the map, he has a BKB and a TP ready, or he got his brother right behind him ready to bail him out. So it's barely, I would say it's kind of even, the amount of farm that he gets compared to the Wisp Death, but still just kind of making those plays and always having that turns is really important. Talking about like builds right now, I really like the Tidehunter build. This has been kind of popularized more and more, is this Guardian Greave build on the Tidehunter, getting tons of mana efficiency. When you get your Refresher Orb, you're able to Arcane Boots yourself twice without having to worry about the item slot, and you can just really go for this crazy late game progression where all 6 item slots are very relevant. So I'm looking forward to see what Fly can do with it. Probably just going straight for the Refresher next, but you can see things like Shiva's Guard being pretty effective.
Yeah, it's
Really okay, bottom?
oh, as they move in, they want to get off behind. If they can get Katovas down, and they do, very easy to grab that AA, who typically is farming out on the side of the own. But look at this! Oh, Tie Hunter was there one moment, but then he's gone. Beautiful Requiem from Swindle annihilates the Watermelon Monster and does a hefty chunk of damage onto the Storm Spirit as well.
I don't know how they didn't see that coming. I mean, that seemed like a pretty obvious play there from Swindles. Maybe he BKBs it, maybe he doesn't, but the Tide didn't even try to blink out of the TV. That was absolutely disastrous, and now Complexity are really taking back the map. I mean, already having global pressure is one really good thing, but adding in all these tower kills, and they're going to go right into the pit.
That's all they really needed to do it. They had the better Roche kind of a lineup, and now that threat from the Void Boys isn't quite there. Is a little bit with this Storm Spirit, who is just up north. I don't know if Omega Poner, if it's necessary to do this kind of a grand play, but he is up on the high ground and, able to sidestep the Storm, the Storm Bolt. But it will certainly go to Complexity here. Specifically, Swindle will pocket the Aegis, and now Complexity feel a lot more confident after that sweet and easy couple of kills for them. 11-17.
I wonder how much pressure Complexity feels right now about using this Aegis to take a Rax. Like, obviously you have the ability to do that, but whether or not it's the right call, it's completely different story. Oh, Fly doesn't... There's any disables to catch him out, but an odd timed blink could have been bad if Way 2 was a little bit closer. But yeah, like right now you're going uphill into Call Down, Fissure, Ravage, Ice Blast, like a lot of scary stuff. Even the Storm Spirit is really good playing around the fountain. So I feel like there's a lot of risk in taking high ground, and I want to know really like how emphasizing of it are Complexity. Like, do they really feel they need to end the game with this Aegis, or at least take a Rax with the Aegis? They definitely could take the tier 2. That's certain. The outer towers and the map control is going to be theirs for the next 5 minutes. But actually forcing high ground, got to be at best 50-50 in their minds.
Yeah, I would agree with it. It's just a matter of if that's how Complexity see it. Just the way they've done some rambunctious things already in the earlier parts of this game, they just very well might be like, hey, let's just get every last little bit of this Aegis while we can. And if that means pushing into the high ground, then so be it. But look at this catch down below. They move in. Ziz is going to prop his BKB. They decide to double back. Fly is going to get chopped down. Maybe before he can even get the Ravage off, he's able to walk away from trouble here. But there's no target, and right into a Laguna. He's going to get dropped, and now Complexity look around for maybe any sort of stragglers here, but a quick disperse from Void Boys. Yeah. They're out of there. They don't have their Tide Hunter. They don't want to bother. And here's your answer, Blaze, with the one takedown of Tide. They're happy to go towards the high ground. He's out for 40 seconds without a buyback either.
Exactly. They have to play this really smart with the Fissure, with the Echo, with the Storm, Ball Lightning all around, but Urshik is really the only one right there right now. Both BKBs are down, and the Wisp didn't really get involved with either of them as far as like tethering, overcharging. Even Sven was happy to pop his BKB just to dispel the double damage rune, because the most important thing was nullifying that Ravage. They took that out of the picture, but it'll be back up in 18 seconds. The Echo Slam comes in.
Try to get the quick pick on the Z-Freak. He does end up going down. The Echo follow-up isn't too dramatic. It does.
No, that's plenty. That is what they needed to hold the high ground.
It's enough, though, to get them back. I mean, MJW took the brunt of that. We'll be weak and wounded. And everyone else, it's like, okay, that's enough to just get us off the front lawn. And that's all Void Boys really wanted. They will be losing their tier 3, leaving the Raxes now exposed. But I guess that's just what they'll have to settle for at this point. And coL, though, to their advantage, they get that tier 3. They still get to hold their Aegis. Now, I don't know if they're going to look to quickly spend this sweet money they got. I mean, you look at Swindle, he's got 47 freaking 100 gold. Ziz has got 2K holding in case he's trying to just quickly fire out a Daedalus. And then you use that last little minute to try to get something done, or just kind of play it slow at this point. They got to be feeling comfortable about their late game now.
Yeah. A lot of people look at the Earthshaker and say that was just a feeding play and it didn't really change much, but honestly that saves their racks. The fact is, if you have Ice Blast on cooldown and Ravage in the grave for 15 seconds, the only play you can make is that kind of suicidal Echo Slam play before they start spreading on the high ground. So really good play from the Earthshaker there. If in the end they win the game, I would say it started here. Just the fact they're able to hold their racks when the Tide got picked off like that.
Gotta get them the hell off your property somehow. If you throw out your craziest flashy plays and get them just down enough where they'll have to second guess themselves, that's more than enough. It'll give you that extra couple of minutes, that extra 10 minutes maybe, just to kind of farm up and pull this game back. But if they're allowed this little bit of extra time, Blaze, to just kind of be on the peak to bring it back more to their side, what does it take? What kind of item are they going to be waiting for here? Where is our big look here? Is it on Snaking more as he tries to throw together that MKB and get more damage?
Honestly, I feel like just with the pickup of the Sven, and I believe, yeah, they have a Vlad's too, already Snake King's impact in this game is going to be marginalized, because they're going to have team-wide 25 bonus armor between that skill and that item.
Yeah.
And it makes it very difficult to make a really good impact until extremely late game as a gyrocopter. MKB will be great, but it's still just going to be a nice bump up. I feel the late game item that brings them swinging back is, now that they have this Aghanim Scepter on the Ancient Apparition, is going to be the refresher on Tide. When your opponent's BKBs are waning down from 10 seconds to 5, and you're just about to spike with a second of Ravage, like, that's when you really come online as a hero in this game. But they got their BKBs out fast enough that he was only able to make a decent impact early on. Now, most of the fights for him become a waiting game of, can he live long enough for the BKBs to down so that he can actually drop the Ravage. And obviously the last fight wasn't the case, but every fight will be 1 second closer to the point where he is more relevant, and the double Ravage is just going to be insane.
Feels like it's been just so long since I've had to hear the trials of a Tidehunter in a Dota game like this, where it's okay, you've utilized that one Ravage as long as you can. It's time to go into late game mode here, Tidehunter. You gotta eventually throw together that sweet little refresher orb and just bank on the idea that complexity or whatever opponent you're going against at the time, their BKBs have winded down enough, like you said, and you got to be able to fight through it. The advantage of, since the last time we really saw Tide be a big flavor in the off lane, was the addition of those Guardian Greaves. I remember when they first came out, a lot of people thought they would be perfect for someone like Tidehunter, who traditionally can go for a mech and usually also gets arcane. So it kind of just seems to fall into place for someone like that, especially when they have a very dinky mana pool to work with already. And the 3 cost of the Greaves certainly helps out. But really, Tide was never picked up anymore. But now he's back. Yeah. He gets to use the Greaves. We get to once again relate to the story of a Tidehunter on having to muscle through the 1 Ravage, get a hold of 2, and hope he can be the one to turn the game around. But I love it. I love seeing Tidehunter again. Ravage is great for great plays, crowd-pleasing, highlight reels. I wouldn't even mind seeing more Magnus, after all.
Sure enough. But while the Guardian Greaves is great for him, one item actually really hurts Tide's late game potential more than you would expect. Silver Edge actually can destroy this hero. If you can just like Primal Roar and Silver Edge hit Tide, you can kill him where he doesn't get his ulti off. Generally speaking, that's not possible because Kraken Shell allows you to just keep spamming that ulti key until you let it fly. But in this case, if you get like a Silver Edge on the Shadow Fiend and you synchronize it with a Disable, you can actually just burst Tide down without him accomplishing anything.
I would have to say as well, the Glimmer Cape probably doesn't help too much. Even if you're looking for a Ravage setup, if someone's not caught inside of it, has a Glimmer, then, you know, quick turnaround Glimmer, that Ravage is not going to be setting anything up. But here we go. Complexity now have inched their way across the river, closer to that center door of the Void Boy side. Now they're going to be doing their sweep. They saw Omega Poner farm out the top lane, maybe looking for him on the cutback, but for now, keeping the pressure, cutting the creep wave. They know that even Roche could be up in the near future. Now they're going to be able to catch out Omega Poner. Quick Yules, follow up LSA, and Storm is gone. Out. 40 seconds. No. Oh, there is a buyback, but...
Yeah, there is, but he might have to use it, and that's the threat. If they can force it within 35 seconds here, then he has to... Because, no, he's buying out for the Lincolns, practically. He has 33 gold surplus beyond that buyback.
They catch Snake King with the hammer, but there's a quick fissure. And Complexity are definitely trying to get the most out of that potential buyback, but it's not going to happen. He still has 6 charges of Bloodstone, so his death timer isn't even that big. And they're not going to be able to get him to buy out. And he's confident enough, and as you said, already committed for the Lincolns to deal with that pesky Beastmaster. But Complexity, again, go to all lanes, keep the pressure up. I don't know what the time is on Roche because Reborn things, but I'm sure it's up relatively soon, and Complexity are going to just keep a watchful eye out for it.
Yeah, shouldn't be too difficult with the Hawk to know exactly when it's going to spawn. And then comes out a vision for Omega, but they're going to try to go for Sven. Turns out he's just going to be hammered away by Z-Freak there. He has the mana pool to support that. You'll note he doesn't even have boot. The one really fun thing about Wisp is he really doesn't rely on Boots' speed very much, just because he can use Tether to jump like halfway, like a full screen away.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's the longest I've seen a Wisp hold out for Boots, but it's even more effective because the Glimmer Cape is just that good of an...
Yep. Oh, look at this play. Void Boys smoke and move out in hopes that they can catch maybe a Complexity member trying to push out a lane at their own. or even as a 2, then they can outnumber them here. But look at this.
It's a really hard pick, though.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, the Storm Spirit has to jump past the hero that they find when the smoke breaks, find the Wisp. You don't find the Wisp, at best, the Wisp relocates out, and you get to kill a free Wisp.
Well,
but
they
we'll
find...
see BKB pop, which means no tether, and he's going to have to fight it out for a little bit.
Okay, well, wait. Is he going to survive? He just mans up, and he gets the kill.
Wow, the crit.
This Sven is just chunking them down. But here comes the company. Now they move in. Big Laguna. It's Void Boys crumbling apart. Omega Poner barely enough to make it over the ledge. Valiant TP effort, my friend. Won't be going anywhere. Primal Roar will scream right in the face, and he will go down. Another big sweep for Complexity. Only puts him up to 18 to Void Boys 19, but they are in a commanding position in this game. Net worth skyrockets right back up their way, and they're going to get ready to start tickling the high ground here.
Just popping God's Strength and suddenly laying waste. Those crits were absolutely insane. Just at the perfect time was able to just blow apart his opponents, and that is allowing them to just walk right up to the high ground. One set of racks down. All those late game dreams maybe in the dumpster here, moving forward for a second lane.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing the big double Ravage to come out here for Void Boys anytime soon. They're able to easily wipe up the top lane here. They go in the mid. Tier 3 very low, but the Glyph will come out the last second. But they don't want to risk it. Storm will be up in 4, and he could do that pesky frickin' fountain jump. So they don't want to bother. Instead, there's Roche, guys. Complexity could always step back and look to go for the Roche here. Get some wards down so they can get the vision to see if Void Boys look to interject. But another Aegis will certainly help them out in finishing this game.
Yeah, I think the Aegis Snaps from Megaponer is pretty much the way that they can get themselves back in the game. If they let the Aegis go to Complexity again, I can imagine that they'd be able to take almost any fight in this position now that they've got so many big items on Sven, and just some great synergy between their heroes. I mean, even Shadow Fiend is just flash farming like crazy. 436 last hits for Swindles, and he's pretty much all as 6-slotted as you want to be right now. He doesn't have blink mobility, he doesn't have BOTs, but he's in a really good state of affairs right now. And yeah, this smoke is very clear that Void Boys cannot sacrifice the Roshan at this time.
I almost want to say it was pretty damn predictable as well that Void Boys were going to be doing something like this. I mean, Complexity just idle in their jungle, farming, waiting to see, and you know their waves are still pushing pretty darn forward. But okay, they are going to get the jump on the Swindle here, and he has no Aegis, mind you, but he might be able to muscle this one off. Siegfried comes in, and now he goes man mode. Here it comes. Requiem flies out. He annihilates Snake King. Gyro's going to be the first to drop, and now they're going to look for Poner. Quick jump back. Move in though. Big Ravage. They're going to get the big follow-up here. Do they have the Echo? They was already committed, but it might not be enough. They turn right back, and now it's Ziz's turn to just man mode. And he tries to get a hold of him. Is going to be solidified. They get the last catch, annihilating the Wisp here. Katovas moves in and gets that, and they might be able to kite this Sven. They get a nice little fissure. They're slowing him down with the Vortex. He sweeps in, a force even. That's going to put him into the Yules here, and they get a long jump from Omega Poner. Is going to finish off Ziz. And now they look for way 2. Goes into the Glimmer, and he's going to be able to TP right from a tree. Right next to him. Right by a tree. Holy crap. Now, that did cost Void Boys a couple of buybacks, including Storms. But they are able to get a pretty good trade, and looks possibly like they're going to be going for the Roche. But they hit very, very, very weak. This will take a little bit. Well, they're actually doing some respectable damage here, Blaze. It looks like Void Boys are on a bit of a comeback.
They will take the Roshan, but I think the Roshan means a lot more to Void Boys than it does to Complexity. Complexity are okay with letting that Roshan go because their game isn't hanging by a thread right now. Whereas I feel like Void Boys, one more pickoff, one more mistake, maybe on anybody here but the Storm Spirit, since he has Bloodstone, and you can see that you'd lose another set of racks and the game would be pretty much a foregone conclusion. For Complexity, they take a pretty tough fight there, and fight it out really well. I mean, the way they used their ultimates, the way they just kind of stood and delivered like that was very impressive, but they didn't get any massive crit fight, and I think part of it just comes down to the PRD there.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how much Void Boys are able to get done in these exchanges, though. I mean, we've got to remember Snake King was almost muscled down immediately at the start of the fight, and he's their gyrocopter, their real big late game. The Storm has been put down into only 4 charges, so, but somehow, though, the big ultimate, a big Ravage setup, And that's all it takes. I mean, imagine if this gyrocopter was just a huge diesel engine right now. Relocate in. They're able to get the catch onto the Earthshaker here. Snake King does drop the call down, but he sees Earthshaker gets dropped. It's just way too much, way too fast. There's nothing he could do. Would have had a better chance just flying the hell out of there, but not even then that's going to be enough. Swindle just hits way too hard. Mid lane, they might get the catch on the way too. Speaking of which, Lina will get taken apart. Ziz sees Poner. Poner's just going to get as close as he can to use little mana to get up to the high ground and get away. But now they know Earthshaker's gone. That's no echo. Snake King's out, would be forced to buy back if he wants to defend. And now Storm is somewhere low on mana and health. So let's get in there and let's take down another set of racks. There's going to be the buyback though from Snake, and they just turn around and look who's going to be caught from behind here. Z-Freak up in arms with Omega Poner. But he's got that glimmer and he will make it away.
Yeah, Dust on cooldown. He used it on the Lina earlier to try to bring her down. Both of them having Glimmer Caves makes it difficult to find that opening. They forced the Gyrocopter buyback. Now they reset, but it comes down to the trigger. BKBs versus Ravage. The Tide has to initiate.
He's thinking about it here. He pokes once. Blink is still up. The Ravage is still there. There's the pullback. He's looking to make it go possibly onto Z-Freak. Now he's going to get hit, and he is getting hit hard. There's going to be the force to safety, but they already lost to Rax, and it looks like that window of opportunity is not going to be there for the Void Boys to respond. They will lose just their ranged Rax here in the mid lane, but that's enough for complexity. They will pull back, go back to their farm, revisit later.
Yeah, it's really tough to be the initiator in this context with only one Ravage, because the worst case scenario for complexity, again, is that they just lose the Wisp, because get caught by the Ravage before popping BKB, Z-Freak will relocate tether that person out, and they might be even able to heal back if they didn't get hit by the Ice Blast. So even Blink Ravaging in isn't always going to guarantee you a kill, to their dismay. And then, like you saw there, as soon as they feel threatened, they pop the BKB, they take the racks, they walk away. So we do see them starting to take control of their jungle once more, but when it comes to those big fights on the high ground, it really comes down to how those BKBs are used.
Sven now going to be picking up his own Blink Dagger here, so Ziz will be able to make it up over that fissure hump if necessary, or just kind of into the grind. And he and Swindle, both Daedalus, both crit. Huge, huge damage here. As they sweep back in, will continue their farm. Void Boys still have their Aegis here, believe it or not, on Poner. I don't imagine they have much to make use of it. It was more of to stall things out and give them more time so Complexity wouldn't feel as comfortable pushing into them when they know Storm has this extra life. He is very close to Z-Freak here. They're each going to be hiding out in their own little dark closet. Ziz is like, I don't know what's going on. Should I move forward? He'll get spotted now, though. He leads in. No stun's going to be there. They just kind of readjust positioning, but trouble is coming here. Link is going to pop the stun. Here comes the Bash Brothers, though. We got Tidehunter and Earthshaker nearby. They're going to make the long jump, going for way too. They caught him in the back. They got the dust for the Glimmer, but he's able to get off the Yules. There's Fly. Big catch with a Ravage and Echo onto the two. Can they burst him down? They're finally able to just get way too down, but that's not even the real problem. A brief relocate puts him up and ahead of Omega Poner, who's going to be forced to TP and jump away. They can't stop him. He's out of there. I mean, just look how much power it took just to get the Lina down.
And now you see the weakness of the Tidehunter. He doesn't have a Ravage for 2 full minutes. 2 full minutes. They just can manhandle the Dire base. There's almost nothing that can be done. They'll try their best, but without the Ravage and without the Earthshaker, at least the mid-Rax is as good as dead, and I'm definitely sure the Complexity are going to look for more than that. Just a quick thing to mention, that Phage guy actually linked with an awesome stat. Swindles is doing some record-breaking on his Shadow Fiend's last hits. The 45-minute mark for Shadow Fiends, as far as like top last hits of all time, is like around 550. There was a couple of time intervals where he was in the top 6 of all time for different timing windows. So Swindle has been farming up a Storm this game. He's happy to go right on the front line, pop the Glyph, and then they'll look to go in all together for the next, it looks like anyway.
I mean, he's decorated already to show how much farm he has been given this game to go along with those crazy records. I mean, the only thing left is pretty much swapping out the boots for some boots travel, maybe throwing a moon shard, and you're 7 slotted. So we'll have to see if he wants to really get to that desired point or not. They pressure out these lanes once more, and it just feels like Complexity are preparing for their next invade here. They've already conquered 1 Rax there at the top, or 1 set of Rax at the top, 1 Rax in the mid lane. Void Boys need to hold strong. It's been a very tough game for this Gyrocopter, though. 1-6-14 for Snake King. And when these fights break out, he goes down fast, and it could happen very well right here and now. They move in. They're going to get Snake King dead. Right on cue. He just has no chance. He's out 90 seconds, no buyback. And now it's all complexity. They move right in this mid lane. They'll be able to easily secure this Rax. And Blaze, that could have just been the game right there.
Nice jump from there. They get an offensive force staff on the gyrocopter. They knew there were still 20 extra seconds here where the Tide could not fight, where Void Boys couldn't fight, but they weren't outside, huddled inside their base. They were trying to catch up for farm, and there's just no catching up at this point. Gyrocopter dead. They know that he can't get back into this one with his more recent buyback.
Here they come. They got to do something about it. Poner's going to put his attention on the Swindle here. His Lincolns will get popped. There's the Yules. A big Ravage from Fly and an Echo follow-up. There's the Ice Blast. And there's the Hail Mary. If they can't win this, Blaze, they can't win this game. Because that's as good as it gets. They took out all 4. Only survivor being MJW, who barely makes it out. That was the dream setup of a defense for Void Boys. But that's really all they had left in the barrel. Will they be able to use this to go to the other side? I don't think so. I think it's a matter of complexity now, coming back to life and just maybe quickly going right back at the base while all those are on cooldown.
Yeah, absolutely insane combo, though. Void Boys holding it out at the midnight hour with the perfect combo of ultimates, all before BKBs came out. Every single ability hit, no BKB pop was by complexity. They just got annihilated there. But they were very, very confident they could just end the game right there. I can't say I blame them, but Void Boys still kicking and still looking for that next Ravage cooldown. They really are living by this spell. If there's any way for them to take the fight, it's always with the Ravage, either immediately into the fight or 5 seconds later. And yeah, they really need, now more than ever, Snaking just on Rapier and for them to rely on those big Ravages to bring it back.
Yeah, Rapier on him. Somehow Tide's able to quickly scrap together another couple thousand of gold to finish out the... Oh, he's going to be put off a bit more, though. Gets caught out. MJW forced forward. And now, look at this. He's trying to retreat and get away. The relocate comes in. There's going to be the Laguna. He's still alive. They get him with the Yules here. And as he comes back down, they can't grab him, Blaze. Fly's going to be able to make it away.
Tanky Tide. Guardian Greaves armor actually kicking in a couple of times there, just getting so durable, and they didn't save the Laguna until the last hit, which is kind of what they need to do against Guardian Greaves. But when you have a hero that gets 48 damage block per hit, he's got a natural armor value of 28, and then he gets a bonus 15 armor and 15 HP regen when he's dropping down to critical health thresholds. Yeah, you have to just do that perfectly to bring him down, but in this case it's going to be him limping away, kind of recouping with that cooldown, and it looks like they will survive for another Roche cycle. This is going to be perhaps the final Roche fight when it does eventually respawn, but in the meantime, complexity still just farming up like crazy. I mean, the numbers really, like, the fact that Swindle has multiple times over jumped into like the top 3 or 4th slot in CS, and he pretty much is as farmed as you're gonna get. Like, yeah, Moonshard, really awesome, but he's got a potentially overcharge, he's got drums, he's got the Beastmaster aura, like, he's hitting as hard and as fast as a Shadow Fiend really can.
But I have to say, after that fight, the XP at least is at an even playing field right now. Well, okay, big jump, though, on the bottom lane for Swindle, who's a bit out far from home. Ice Blast connects even through the BKB. Won't eat the initial damage, but it will certainly linger. Return, though. MJW catches with the roar. There's the Ravage. They still want Swindle, but they don't have detection. He's going to get glimmered up, and he retreats. They are able to finish off MJW, though. Can they get Z-Freak next? He's gone in one. He's out. Will make it out in a way. They tried to get a hold of him there, but it looks like Complexity now back on the retreat. Void Boys, again, committing big ultimates for this fight. Not getting as much as they did last time. Fighting outside their, barricade doors. They only managed to grab the Beastmaster.
Yeah, very soon we're just going to see, like, offensive buyback plays, where essentially they treat their carries as if they have 2 lives. One for their first life and then their buyback life, where they can either BOT or relocate into the front lines. And at that point, they can just throw bodies at this one Ravage, and maybe just a game like that. But we're going to see it jump in. It's the Lincolns!
He's going in, he's trying to use the cleave, but they quickly disperse. Fly's in trouble, but a quick Laguna will take out Snay on the other side. Ziz is going to get dropped next, and look at this, buybacks start rolling out, both for MJW and Snake King here. They're going to catch the Earthshaker. There's the Yules. Poner still going to go for the Roche here. He'll get the Aegis. And it looks like they got it, but look, Megas are down. Megas are down. They got the last set of racks here, and then they're going to be clearing out inside the base, Blaze. It's already been done. A log jump for Poner. What the hell happened to my home base?
Exactly. The glyph just wasn't enough to hold it with all that damage coming in from Shadow Fiend. Even without like the AC aura and all these things, they still just walk right up to it and wail on it. Z-Freak will be going down, but what a price to pay. Just one lowly bootsless wisp here 52 minutes in for the entirety of the Dire base. Now, you just see the line drawn on the map. They're going with this last Ravage all the way to the throne. It's throne or bust. They see cells for the plate mail, for the refresher, and they are all in at this point. Without a gyrocopter, less.
They got to get through these megas first. And oh my goodness, maybe even by the time they get there into a fight, he'll have both Ravages ready to go with 30 seconds on the first. They got to do everything they can, and I don't know. It's just too much garden work to clear out this base before they can even head out. But this is it. It's all or nothing. It is just game one of this best of three. Void Boys would stay alive, but they would really love to have that one-game advantage.
Sakura just picked up a Battle Fury. He sold his Ghost Scepter, bought the Battle Fury in the base. Very smart, and pretty much the only way to try to clear all these creeps out in any meaningful way. Just Enchant Totem, Battle Fury all the way. And he picks up a Strength on next, perhaps, but like he needs to start clearing things out right-click after right-click. But Complexity, they have all the time they need to regroup, go S5, and try to seal this one out, which at this point seems beyond 99%.
AA just needs to sell some stuff and get a Maelstrom and a Mjolnir and also to help out and clear out this wave as much as possible. I mean, because they're like, we got to go. They're drawing the line, but look at this. They barely made it out from the front gate, and then already Swindle's here and Fly's like, I got to get the hell back. If he goes down, they will not have those Ravages. Look how hard he frickin' hits. My God.
Yeah, they don't want to commit for that, but even still, very impressive display. They do see the refresher as well, which is very important for the next engagement, and this might be the last one.
All right. Even if Void Boys take a huge fight here, they have to still find their way over to Complexity side. They're going to lead in first, try to take out MJW if possible, and they got it. So they're going to lead off with the first strike. Complexity, do they continue to engage? They do. A jump in, a nice Blink Destroy. Will not get them, but Snake King gets annihilated again.
They have no BKBs.
No more BKBs. Ravages, he's trying to get into his spot. He's going to unleash the first. Ravaging now for a second one. There it is. Can they finish off Swindle quick? They're going to go right for an Abyssal. Follow up. Requiem not going to be there. A Big Fisher stops them. They're going to quickly take out two. Now they want Swindle, but it's over, Blaze. And as you said, the throne was in trouble the whole time. And the game is over. Void Boys may go out fighting, but they lose, and Complexity will take game one of this best of three.
I knew that it would come down to cooldowns, timing, positioning, but man, that was impressive display. Both sides. Void Boys holding against pretty much all odds, but they just didn't have the late game. I mean, their carry just couldn't compare to 729 GPM Shadow Fiend, fully farmed Sven with a Wisp behind him. Like, Complexity really knew how to play this lineup in the late game. And although they had a few back and forth skirmishes around that mid game in terms of initiation, counter initiation, I still think that they had a really good idea of what to do with these heroes and a really solid draft. So